Women's bikini lines. What's the first thing that comes to mind? Well, if you're in Ottawa's tech scene, you might have a different answer to that. A startup focused on women's bikini lines is attracting all sorts of attention. Dragon's Den, fastest growing companies, 40 under 40. What is the connection between bikini lines and tech? Coming up on Techopia Live. Hello, I'm Michael Curran from the Ottawa Business Journal. Welcome to Techopia Live. This is a regular podcast from the Ottawa Business Journal that features next generation technology companies. We want to shine a spotlight on the up and comers. We want to keep you updated as well on the established players, all with a goal of keeping the tech sector informed and connected. In today's episode, we'll explore a little bit of a different company, although it seems like I say that every single time. It's an online retailer that specializes in bikini line skincare products. That isn't your typical company that's a guest. This company is racking up awards with OBJ and here locally. It ranked number one on OBJ's 2022 fastest growing companies list. It won a 2022 Bootstrap Award for marketing. And today's guest was also, as if that wasn't enough, a 2022 40 under 40 award winner. So it would appear the world is his oyster these days. Now let's welcome our guest. Here is the CEO and co-founder of Bushbalm. Here is David Gaylord. Hello, David.
Hey, thanks for having me, Michael. Excited to be here.
I'm really excited to have this chat. We were saying to each other, we keep bumping into each other and it's always like in crowded places. So we never have, not that this is an intimate discussion, excuse me, because we're broadcasting it, but it's good to at least deal with you one-on-one for a bit. So thank you for that, David.
Yeah, totally.
So let's just get to know you a little bit. We're going to focus on your company, but I want to know who, and other people want to know who David Gaylord is. Over to you.
Yeah, so my background is, I guess, a little different. I grew up in a small town, Tweed, Ontario, and I always grew up actually in a family business. So my family business they actually had a store in Ottawa for about 4 or 5 years. So it's called Gaylord Hardwood Flooring. So my dad taught me a lot about business. I worked kind of the worst jobs you could have and some of the better jobs you could have at kind of a small manufacturing company, sales, kind of the whole works. And then I ended up in university in New Jersey on a golf scholarship, actually. And I wasn't sure what to take. I knew I wanted to do business, and somehow I fell into marketing. And I actually, at the time, my school, I see it more now, but they had a concentration in digital marketing, which at the time was very unusual. So I took that, and it was great. It was an awesome program. And then from there, I found myself at Shopify in an entry level customer service role, which was the best decision I've probably made in a long time. And I learned so much of exactly what I wanted to learn. Like e-commerce at the time was really taking off, and everything's kind of led to Bushbalm, which we actually started while I was at Shopify. So my background's always been in the marketing sector, and lately e-commerce has really become a passion of mine.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I can kind of tell that you grew up in an entrepreneurial family, and people that are entrepreneurs often have that like inner feeling about entrepreneurship and drive in that. I know you said your dad was a big inspiration in planting that
Definitely.
seed with you.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
let's talk Bushbalm a little bit. So give us, I've heard of them. People might have heard about them. We're going to talk about Dragon's Den here in a second. But yeah, give us the kind of the basics on the company in terms of size, companies, what you're doing.
Yeah, so we started in 2016, so it was quite a long time ago. And for the first few years, there was three of us part-time employees. We weren't really doing much for it. We were just trying to get it going. And then in 2019 is when we really started to take off. But we didn't hire any employees until actually after the Dragon's Den episode. So Dragon's Den, we had three of us who were very part-time, and I think at that time it was $1.8 million in sales that year. and we just had 3 kind of part-time. So a lot of it was tech and automation and building it out that way. But the product line and the focus has kind of stayed the same. So we started with waxing salons was a big area for us, and they needed a product for immediately after waxing for irritation. So we launched our oils, and that took off really strongly. And then we've slowly introduced more products in that category. So ingrown hairs, razor burn, dark spots, and then recently you can see there our trimmer we launched last year is our first technology product, and it's been a really big hit. So we're actually going to be launching more skin tools, is what you'd probably call them. So technology products. But yeah, the overall goal of Bush Balm is we're focused on the bikini line, and we're building unique products that typically the ingredients we're trying to use were for your face, for the kind of more the areas where there are many more competitors and big competitors, whereas the bikini line is an area that we see a lot of white space. So we're really focused on that and carving our niche into this category that seems niche, but we believe is actually very broad, just because almost everyone is doing something down there.
Very interesting, especially you staying like really bootstrapped and small until Dragon's Den, which we'll talk about in a second. But just a couple more facts, and I fully appreciate that you're a privately held company, so you don't have to disclose anything you don't want to. But generally, number of employees these days?
Yeah, we actually just hit 20. So
Okay,
we're
awesome.
pretty, yeah. So, and a lot of it is in marketing, and then we're building out a sales team for our wholesale business. So we're not just e-commerce anymore. We're moving into some big retailers, and then we're in over 1,000 small waxing salons, actually.
Okay. And give us a sense. We're gonna dig into this. I keep previewing what's to come. That's to keep
Mhm.
people involved here. But give us a sense of percentage revenue, if you're comfortable, percentage
Yeah.
revenue in online sales versus kind of channel sales in actual
Mhm.
retailers.
Yeah, so it's changed significantly over the years. So e-commerce is how we started, and actually, when we first started, we said no to the thought of any retailer or any wholesale business or waxing salon business, just because it's a lot of work. You got to like talk to them, communicate, send them information all the time. Whereas now we've expanded that. So our e-commerce is down to probably, I think it's something like 65% of the business.
Okay.
And then the remainder is either retail or waxing. And then the other piece is we have a really big retail launch next year. So next March is
Okay.
our first serious retail launch. It's a store with over 1,000 locations, so
Wow.
it'll be a big one for us. Whereas
Okay.
right now we are in Indigo, which is great, but I don't know how many stores they are. It's under 100 that we're in. Whereas, yeah, going up to 1,000, it kind of changes the scale of what big retail is.
No kidding. And can you give us a breakdown? I suspect Canada is still a big part of the company, but Canada, US, you are selling into the US, I presume.
Yep. So it's actually Canada's about 30% of the
Oh,
split.
well, there you
US,
go.
yeah. So US is about 70, and it's sad to say, but it's just cheaper to sell in the US than it is in Canada.
Okay. Okay, that's really
Yeah, the
interesting.
shipping.
Okay, it's a shipping cost. Okay.
Yeah, and it's just
Fascinating.
the efficiencies of, like, online marketing. So we just get way more bang for our buck, in the US because there's so many more people, bigger city centers, and then shipping costs are, yeah, they tend to be almost 20% lower in the US for us than in Canada.
And fair to assume, David, you don't own a manufacturing plant. This is outsourced. So you guys develop the product and then you outsource the manufacturing. Is that kind of how it works?
Yeah, so we have quite a few different manufacturers, but yeah, the process we essentially source all the components, which is a lot of work on its own, and then find the manufacturers, work with the chemists to build each product, and then from there, they want your business to fill. They're often called cosmetic manufacturers, and then the best product for us, or some of the best products, are the trimmer. It's an excellent product, excellent manufacturer, and they do everything for us. So we just the box shows up with the trimmer in it, everything's good to go. Where supply chain on the other products is actually it's a significant amount of work.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. And let's talk Dragon's Den.
Yeah.
So you had an opportunity in 2020 to pitch on Dragon's Den, and I think for a lot of Canadian entrepreneurs, that's still a dream come true. There's probably like a big long story. So kind of give me the short version of how did it go? And equally
Yeah.
important to this crowd, what was the finance deal like? What was the
Mhm.
financial impact of that? So go ahead.
Yeah. So it's just to talk about how like the interesting time of how it all happened. We applied in February 2020. So that was right before COVID actually started. So I remember our initial pitch. We said this year we're going to do $600,000 in sales, and that was our pitch. Anyways, we ended up getting on, and we didn't film until August. And by August, our pitch had changed to this year we're going to do 1.8 million. So like the amount we thought we would do to when we actually pitched was so fast and changed so much. We sold out a bunch of times, and we were really growing like rapidly. So yeah, the pitch we we had the business pretty well down pat and understood our numbers super well. And yeah, the dragons all were very receptive, and we actually got exactly what we asked for from like on the TV show. It doesn't show it, but the first dragon actually gave us exactly what we offered. So it on the show when they air it, they make it more dramatic and all that. But yeah, we got the first offer. We accepted it, and then from there you go into due diligence. And they took about 2 months probably to give us, like, any sort of term sheet, which they gave us, it mid-December. So, what ended up happening, which is probably for the benefit, is at the time, I think we got 400,000 was what we accepted on the show, and then by the time the term sheet got to us, our business had grown, like, even more. So, we were like, "Well, actually, we don't feel like this is even a good deal anymore," and so it ended up falling through, but, her Arlene's team's been actually helpful, and they've given us advice kind of on the kind of just along the way, just out of the courtesy. And I'm actually meeting with them next Tuesday just to kind of catch up after a few years. Yeah, it didn't go through, but the PR and Dragon's Den and everything was just amazing.
Yeah. And we've had some Dragons Den stars to some of our events and that, and they've talked frankly about it. And it's not to suggest seriously that it's fake, but often there's a deal done on TV, then you get into due
Mhm.
diligence, and yours is probably a typical, example where there's a hockey stick like
Yeah.
growth, and it's like we can't do that deal anymore. Like we're like growth is our sales have doubled. Like the valuation of the company is completely different from what we said on on a TV show.
Yeah, exactly. And they're hearing your business for the first time. So like due diligence is obviously super important. But yeah, the show, if like anyone in business, I actually found it one of the best experiences to like understand yourself and your business and really dig into your numbers and like really get everything in order. So when we went on, that was and it set us up for all these processes now, like financially, that are just so helpful. So yeah, if anyone is going on, and they need advice or want advice, happy to chat because yeah, we had the best experience and definitely would recommend it to anyone.
Yeah, and it goes without saying, you referenced it, the marketing boost of being exposed to
Hmm.
tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people, especially when you've got a retail product, is
Yeah,
pretty immeasurable. That type of exposure is worth a lot of money, quite frankly. So you did have a financial impact. It just wasn't the
exactly.
right term sheet. Yeah. All right, David, we're going to pause our conversation now just because I want to recognize the sponsor of this particular episode, a company, by the way, that helps people like David here grow very rapidly. Here's Number Crunch.
Number Crunch is an Ottawa-based firm that allows you to outsource your financials, especially if you're a technology startup or early-stage company. Number Crunch services range from bookkeeping, accounts receivable, and monthly reconciliations to full virtual CFO services, including investment preparation and cash flow forecasting. Number Crunch is led by Susan Richards and Craig Hung. Combined, they have more than 40 years of financial experience in this market, having advised dozens of firms. Number Crunch will help your company mitigate risk by ensuring proper accounting procedures, provide you with strategic input, and scale along with your business. To get a quote on outsourcing your accounting, please visit numbercrunch.ca.
And we're back talking to David Gaylord, the co-founder and CEO of Bushbalm. David, I wanted to get into kind of what the secret to your success is. And when I was reading your various news clippings and your LinkedIn profile, I have a sense that, of course, your product was fundamental to your success and identifying this niche. So I'm not trying to underplay that. But,
Mm.
my sense, and this is what I want to ask you, is that digital marketing was kind of one of your big differentiators out of the gate.
Yeah, for sure. And the kind of looking back at it, I know it's like a technology podcast as well. And how I'm seeing it nowadays is whatever your business is, you do have to have a lot of tech built into it. So for us on the digital side, yeah, there's a great understanding of the ad platforms, but also what goes on behind the scenes when you get a customer record. So you get an email, an SMS. You really have to have all these automations set up to make sure you nurture that potential customer and ideally get them to convert at the highest rate. And if you aren't doing all these, not to say tactics, a lot of them now are just this is just how you have to do it. The hardest part is knowing the finer details of what's going to work and what won't work. But yeah, getting back to our secret success, definitely a lot of tech, digital marketing, and then also understanding the consumer is a really, really difficult thing. And we actually weren't successful until we finally found kind of the language that worked and the visuals that worked for our business. And then nowadays, it's just difficult, and the difficulty comes from the tech sector of digital marketing, and you really have to be agile and find the areas where you can get wins, and pivot as you need. So that's kind of our specialty on the marketing front is we're really agile, really quick, and really technically savvy on say automations, looking at consumer insights, that kind of thing.
That's interesting that you say that. So I picked up on the technology kind of savvy answer there, but there was a element in your answer of just good old fashioned marketing, which is what is
Mm.
the right language that resonates with our consumers and what are the photos. So there was kind of that basic back to marketing stuff.
And I would say that arguably is the most important, I would say, of the business in general. Like the products have to be excellent. But yeah, the language you use and the visuals, without understanding what's going to resonate with your consumer, you could do all the digital marketing in the world and it won't hit. So yeah, we focused, actually one of our earliest things we did was an Etsy show. So you're there in person talking to people. It was an excellent way to learn what resonated and worked with consumers, and then from there we translated that into our website, our automations, all of those things. But yeah, old school marketing actually right now with the cost of digital marketing is becoming more and more important. Is what I'm seeing.
Cool. So let's talk about growth. You were listed as the number one fast growing company with OBJ in 2022 with, get this, 5,570%. That's over a 3-year period. So I guess I have so many questions about that number. So first is like, how do you sustain that? Like, I think that number is remarkable to me and it's terrifying to me.
Yeah. So for us now, we still bootstrap the company, but we're considering our first ever raise right now. And the as soon as you raise, you really do have the slight pressure to continue the growth, obviously, and you kind of promise numbers you're going to hit. So for us now, it's finding what are the new opportunities, and also what is the projected growth that we're going to hit. So if we just continued as is, we kind of have our projections for where we would go, and then we also have some ways we've diversified the business. So, for instance, our waxing salon business now, um, we've started to hire. We have now 2 salespeople. Where a year ago we didn't have a team at all, and it was just kind of an organic piece of our business. Whereas now we're trying to figure out the math on okay, if we can hire 2 more sales reps, what's the revenue that we can bring in with that? So that's kind of one area we can really grow the business. The other area we're realizing is through product innovation. So next year, actually in November this year, we have a really innovative product that we're going to be launching that we think will drive quite a bit growth in revenue. So that's just one avenue. The other one that's a very big piece that we're going to launch next year is we've never sold internationally, so other than Canada and the US. So as soon as we get into kind of Australia, UK, that opens up a really significant amount of revenue. And then the last, which is a tiny part of our business right now, is retail. So if we launch in kind of major retailers and really do a great job of launching, that can be a significant growth lever for us. And we do have one major retailer in beauty we're launching next March. So that'll be a big revenue chunk. And then yeah, the hardest part is just continuously winning on marketing and making sure you get kind of more eyeballs on your brand and your products work and have good reviews. That's the key to retention for sure.
A quick follow-up question, then we'll start wrapping up, David. So if
Yeah.
there's an entrepreneur watching today and they're dreaming about achieving 5,570% revenue growth over a 3-year period, what quick piece of advice would you give them to prepare for that, or to even create that growth? What would you say?
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing is like we took a lot of risk in that early period to bet on a few things, which proved to it worked out quite well, and we're glad we did it. So it's almost like not being afraid to take those risks. And then the other piece, when you're so small and lean, we did most of that revenue growth with a team of 5. So when you're that small and lean, communication and really being open with everyone goes a long way. So kind of having a good team that you can communicate well with. If you're selling out, if you're scaling, if you're changing budgets, that really does go a long way. And then as you get into the third year of that growth, the biggest thing is process and building light frameworks that you can use to actually scale the business and make sure it's repeatable. That to me was probably the most difficult part for our team, and we're still figuring it out every day. But yeah, really being flexible, communicating well, and then building out really strong processes goes a long way.
It's amazing how it often comes back to some of those basics: communication, working on processes, getting
Mhm.
efficient, all those business basics just, underpin growth, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it also is a lot of fun. Those 3 years were fascinating times. We all learned a lot there.
Cool. So we'll wrap up here in a second. I want to look forward to 2023. So what is coming up for Bushbalm? What can we look forward to?
Yeah, so we are expanding our team in Ottawa, which is excellent. I'm in the office right now. So we're growing, and we're probably going to grow that sales team a little bit more for waxing salons. A fun stat actually is there's 10 times more waxing salons in the US than there are Starbucks, which is just a fascinating, crazy stat to talk about how like big the industry is. So yeah, we're scaling that out a lot, and then our major retail launch in March will be it's like the Super Bowl for us. Like that really is probably the biggest accomplishment we've had to date. So making sure that's a huge success across the US is a really big priority for the brand, and then more products and unique. In November, we'll have a product that will catch a lot of eyes.
Okay. Well, I'm on pins and needles, but we'll hold that secret and notify the OBJ news team to stay on the ready. David, our sponsor, chief sponsor on the show is EY, and their slogan is "Building a Better Working World." So we always like to ask our guests how they relate to that phrase, which could mean like an HR policy or talent, could be some sort of bigger impact on the world. When I ask you about that, what does it mean to you? What comes to mind?
Yeah, there are a few things that come to mind. So at Bushbalm, we are actually really passionate about building an Ottawa office. So we have an office here in Little Italy, and we do all kinds of things from town hall to having drinks on a Friday or playing games at lunch, stuff like that. And we're trying to build it where people really enjoy the culture at Bushbalm. And then the other kind of higher level look, kind of the reason Bushbalm even exists, and we really do see ourselves as doing good in the world. We just our kind of mission, you would say, is we want every woman to be confident in a bikini. So that's really at the heart of what we do, and we think that's generally just a good thing for the world.
David, thanks for joining us today. We really appreciate having you with us.
Awesome, yeah, I appreciate it. This was great. It
All
was
right.
good to chat. All
Yeah,
right.
good to chat, and we'll have to do it in a more, as I said, intimate fashion where we're not rolling cameras and lights and that type of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
All right,
Awesome.
take care,
Thanks,
David.
Michael. All right.
All right, as we wrap up here, let's take a look at some of the other great companies that champion Techopia. Techopia is brought to you by many great sponsors, such as EY, building a better working world. Number Crunch, offering virtual CFO services for SaaS companies. Pearlie Robertson Hill and McDougall, a leader in business and technology sector law. TD Bank, specialized programs for technology companies. The University of Ottawa Faculty of Engineering, creating the next generation of technical talent. Calian, innovative solutions delivered with integrity. Techopia is not only a podcast, we post new articles daily at obj.ca/Techopia. If you're on Facebook or Twitter, you can find Techopia at Techopia OTT. And if you're on YouTube, please subscribe and click the bell icon. All right, a big thank you once again to David Gaylord from a tremendous local e-commerce company and a retail one. So I think it's really cool to see this, not the typical segment of the economy that we often feature here. But yeah, awesome to see the success of Bushbalm. Thank you for watching or listening. We hope Techopia is keeping you connected and informed. Let's keep building Ottawa's technology utopia. That's Techopia. See you soon. Bye-bye.